Derek DeBoer.
And I'm Brooke DeBoer.
And these are our kids, Paige, Haylee, and Ryann. This is the Fast Life. I created it. Derek races, and I film. We are a family who live our dreams.
How many people can say that their dad is a race car driver? Like, that's one of the coolest things ever.
Even before St. Pete, the writing on the wall was starting to become pretty clear. I'll never forget when I was in Sebring, I continued to be hopeful that the situation was going to improve and what the sponsor was saying was true. Somebody that I had worked with, both with the team and with the series, saw me in Sebring, and he just said, "Derek, you don't look like you, what's going on?" And we had this big conversation, this big meeting about the sponsor fraud thing, and he told me a lot of stories. It's not new in racing, so I kind of all of a sudden didn't feel like the biggest sucker in the world.
I thought the sponsor was pretty cool because, you know, we would show up in Austin, there would be like a Bentley and a Jaguar there for us to drive for the weekend. It was like so luxurious, you know, it was really fun, and we got to stay in a really nice place. So I thought it was pretty awesome. I didn't really think anything of it, you know, you kind of blinded by the cool factor of it all. Dad can't really follow his dream of racing because where's the money coming from? And he has to make up for all the money that's not there anymore.
After St. Pete, there was a big, long, uncomfortable pause until the next things came up. And it makes me so thankful for the kind of person that Kevin is, because we were able to navigate through this really awful situation where we both got stung really badly. Not only did we get through it, he kept pushing, and so did I, and ultimately put one of the best opportunities that I've had in racing right in my lap with the Aston Martin Le Mans Festival. In true Kevin and TRG form, we just put our head down and kept working. I went and did some team events, continued to work on relationships, not knowing where it was going to go. In that time, I met a gentleman named Bob Bramlage. He was at one of our driving events, and I got assigned as his coach. And we formed a really great relationship, and I helped him work through some issues that he had going on in his life, and racing was something that was really important to him, and some things had happened where he didn't think physically he was going to be able to drive a race car again. And the day started out really shaky, but you know, I put my arm around him and I said, "Bob, we're going to get through this, and we're going to try some different things to get you back on this horse," and it worked. And that was one of those moments in racing that was really touching for me, and put a smile on my face like this, was to see him get that back.
I guess that was why I was so happy when we learned Dad was going to race at Le Mans, because that's huge. And I didn't really know how huge it was until we actually went there. You know, how often do you get to travel to France with a race team and watch your dad race cars?
Relationships what ultimately made that happen. You know, Kevin said, "I've got this figured out, the car that you were racing earlier this year. We're going to throw that one in the mix for the Le Mans Festival. You're going to come and you're going to co-drive with Bob." And it was like, wow. So we got ready for the big family trip to France.
Okay, we're on our way, Paris bound. In trouble because none of us speak French at all.
But Papa Al does.
Parlez-Vous, Francais?
S'il vous plaît. Oui, oui.
No.
Yes.
I've got no.
So one of the big things getting ready for Le Mans was, I think Kevin was trying to set all of our drivers' expectations realistically, certainly optimistically and hopeful, but a track like that, the grandeur of Le Mans, is unlike anything that any of us drive in the US. The track's 8.5 miles long. a fast lap in GT4 cars somewhere in the mid 4-minute range, like a 4:26. And most tracks we go to, they're 2 miles long, 3 miles long maybe for a large one, somewhere between 12 and 17 corners. So there's not all that many options to get it wrong or to lose a tenth or a few tenths here and there. So Kevin was explaining to me, he goes, that first session that you go to Le Mans and get on the track, don't be completely deflated if you're 30 seconds off the pace, because it's a big track and there's a lot of sections to notch time away at. And that was really scary to me because, when we go to a track, you might be a half of a second off or 3/10 off, or, on a really, really first time experience, you might be 1 second off, and that feels really tangible to figure out. So I started watching video and video and video and anything I could do to feel like I was ready. It wasn't available in iRacing yet, my simulator program that I use. So all I could do was watch in-car video from different drivers, and even on the flight, I think I was tuned in to figuring out how to not be that far off when we got there.
Going to France was pretty fantastic. First of all, I got to miss the end of school, which was kind of great. But once you got to the airport, it's like a whole new world. It's so weird how different Europe is from the United States. Haylee and I would sit on our little rolling suitcases and we would roll around the airport and listen to the funny voices. The countryside's really pretty there. Everything's so different. It's just beautiful, everything there. And when we got to the chateau, it was like the craziest place ever. It was huge and it was gorgeous. It was like a dream almost. It was so France. I don't know if you could describe it any better than that.
Team owner Kevin Buckler doesn't do anything halfway. As we pulled into the chateau, we felt like we were in a movie. The beauty was breathtaking.
Good morning, Derek.
Good morning.
Would you like to tell us where we are?
We are in Le Mans, France. Actually, we're in a little town just outside of it called La Flèche. And we're here for the Aston Martin Festival race and the historic 24 Hours of Le Mans. Getting here to do and share the two things I love the most, racing and here with my family. Today we're actually on our way into Le Mans to check out the race setup and the track and do a little tour of the town. Then we have a dinner with our good friend supporter Frederic with BRM Watches. Tomorrow most of the rest of the team gets here and we have a big dinner here at the chateau. More tour of the track, learning the track, and then we go into practice, qualifying, big drivers parade on Friday, and then the race on Saturday. I think we have 6 cars here with TRG, so we're gonna have a pretty strong presence out there, and we'll go do some good work.
Have an idea of how big it was till I actually got there. There were so many people and there were tents everywhere. People were camping, partying. It was really cool though because it was nothing like I'd ever seen before. We had our own little trailer area, but there were still giant baguettes that they would hand out to you every day at lunch. It was amazing. The baguettes were definitely my favorite part of the trip.
We're here in Le Mans, France for the Aston Martin Festival Race 2015. I'm going to be co-driving with Bob Bramlage in this number 83 Aston Martin. This weekend we're racing for these 83 names and Racing for Cancer, nonprofit that I'm involved with, started by Ryan Hunter-Ray. The initiative is to educate and talk about early detection of cancer, giving you the best odds to beat it. So with these 83 names, we've essentially raised $8,300. We'll be going to Racing for Cancer thanks to AutoNation's match. And we're just excited for a really great weekend, a really great cause.
This looks like a job for American Express. Wait, don't look at the number.
I liked yesterday when we went to the old town of Le Mans. I liked bonding the horses that they have at the chateau. I think my dad will do very well in the race. and maybe even win.
The kids were confident in their dad's ability. My confidence in him was growing as well with every race and watching as people from the series, team owner Kevin, and the team were taking notice in Derek's ability to make good decisions and get good results consistently on the track. At this point, with the exception of the frustration due to the sponsorship issues we were dealing with at St. Petersburg, Derek had multiple top 10 finishes.
That session is so critical, that first session. There can't be any problems, miss anything, nothing at all. Let's go through every possible scenario. And drivers need you guys to take ownership of this too. Get in that car, make sure those seat cushions are right, make sure your mirrors are right, make sure the adjustments work on the mirrors. Don't get on the grid and say, oh darn, my button's not working. Do it all here. Okay, working with your crew chief. So go through everything. This is a big deal. We don't want to miss any track time for you guys. But the cars have all been run and prepped, but all the little things are going to make you comfortable. So get in it now. If it's not Bob, if you're not sitting up high enough or anything like that, now's the time to make the adjustments. Because what we do is we take our whole dog and pony show counter course down to the paddock, down there for less than an hour, and we're back. So we don't have all our tools and equipment and everything, so we want to do it all here.
This is my co-driver, Bob Bramlage. We're going to be driving this number 83 Racing for Cancer BRM Chronographs Aston Martin GT4 with TRG Aston Martin Racing for the 2015 Le Mans Festival race.
BRM Chronographs had come on board as a racing partner for Derek earlier in the year. They stuck with us through the bumps in the road, and we were heading to their annual dinner in Le Mans to meet the founder and owner Bernard for the first time. What a treat.
On our way to the BRM dinner.
What do you have there?
We have a beautiful replica of our car from Daytona. It's a gift to Frederic and the guys at BRM. We arrived to Le Mans a few days ahead of the rest of the team. Kevin was there waiting for us. We had been invited to a special dinner that one of my sponsors, BRM Chronographs, put on several days before the race, and thought it would be really cool for Kevin to be able to join us at that dinner. And Frederic, the representative from BRM that we had grown to know over the last few years, had set this up for us and included us in this really special night. And we got to meet Bernard Richards for the first time as well. And again, it's just an event that I'll never forget. Some of the world's top drivers were there, other guys that are part of the BRM Chronographs team. And to meet the owner and the man behind the watches was an absolute pleasure. And he's just a great guy. I didn't realize how little English he spoke, so communicating was a little bit tricky.
Bernard. Derek DeBoer.
Wave our hands around and we got through it. And he's become another really close friend. Anytime I'm with Frederic, and Frederic's on the phone with him, he'll hand the phone over to me. And it's really hard to communicate on the cell phone, but I think we both know what we're saying.
I am now a firm believer after this experience that we attract the energy that we put out into the world. Something that we were doing was working. Derek and TRG's team owner Kevin signed the helmet that all of the iconic BRM drivers signed. I was starting to believe that the right support was going to come along. One of the blessings is the friends we meet along the way. The girls and I joined up with another TRG racing family for a lovely lunch and horse ride through the French countryside. The girls enjoyed learning that French horses eat baguettes instead of carrots for treats.
I can't tell you what it's going to be like in your individual cars.
Normal protocol before a race is that we do a track walk. Being part of the Aston Martin Festival, Aston supplied one of their factory team drivers to join us for the walk that obviously had lots of experience at the track, knowing that several of us had never even seen the track. There was a lot of cars in the festival that were from either the Asian series or the European series, which have had time there, but all of us from the US, the only one that had ever seen the track was Kevin. So Darren Turner, one of the factory drivers that certainly we all look up to, joined us for the track walk. It was much like any other track walk. It was just like going around Daytona, except it took a lot longer. We needed a van for parts of it. Being 8.5 miles long, we had some vans to take us through the long parts. And just like most track walks, a driver like Darren has his style and flavor to how he approaches the track. Certainly he's driving in a different level of car.
There somewhere is where you're going to Start to merge from the left-hand side to apex on this curve on the right-hand side. I recommend not going over the curve.
But really, it's all the same. And what you're learning is the nuances of the turns, where the curbing is something that you can use or you want to stay away from. You know, how to approach this turn versus that turn. What visual cues are there at the track that might be a braking zone or a point that you want to aim at exiting a turn? So all that stuff is extremely invaluable, especially somewhere as grand and big and fast and as dangerous as Le Mans. You don't want to get it wrong.
We enjoyed our first team dinner at the chateau. Derek shared a few words with the group. I realized at this point we were not only finding a team, but a racing family. While Derek went early for a practice at the track, the girls and I snuck out to a castle about an hour outside of Le Mans. It was beautiful and had so much history.
It was really fun to go see the castle. On the drive back, it was actually really scary. We got pulled over by the French police. Our driver didn't speak French. He was actually the one driver who wasn't French. He didn't understand anything that the French policemen were asking of us, and he didn't have any of the paperwork. So basically, my mom had to pay off the French police to let us go. So that was really scary because I didn't know if we were gonna like go to jail or something or what was gonna happen because you couldn't understand anything they were saying. And we had a bunch of people in the car and it was just a very intense situation.
I don't know, like 28 minutes or something like that. Don't go 30 and then have to be 34 by the time he's in the car.
Okay, if it comes down to it, maybe 28 or 26, I'll just be like, yo, bring it in. Let's do even this time. It's kind of like mock a driver change. Maybe not full speed. Yeah. But you know, we go like a half speed driver change just to kind of get you get it. You got it down.
I have the easy part. I just have to get out.
I'm just pulling you out.
Yeah.
And then just get locked in.
Yeah, that way. But John will have to make a calculated gut call at some point. I mean, if for some reason there's I don't know how the rule works, if there's a yellow flag or something and it turns into a 6-minute lap because it's under yellow and we're in nude or...
It's a really busy weekend in Le Mans. Track time is very limited, so preparation is absolutely key. You can't miss a single moment, especially when you're sharing a car. So I needed to go get my time in the car, learn the track so I could do a good job for Bob, and then Bob needed to get out there and get comfortable as well. So we really focused on anything we could do to eliminate a problem. You know, Kevin encouraged us drivers to really get in the car, make sure we fit right, make sure the belts are working, make sure our radios are working, that there's no issues that could slow us down. Driver changes are a big part of any endurance race. When you're on the track fighting for tenths of a second, you could very easily add 10 seconds to a pit stop with the messed up driver change. Bob and I hadn't driven before, and I always say that the driver change is very much like doing a dance. There's a lot of different steps involved. Everybody does it a little bit differently, but ultimately the beginning and the end are the same. One driver finishes driving, gets out of the car as quickly as he can. The next driver gets in and needs to get buckled, add whatever seat pads, whatever things he needs to make it right. So Bob and I put a lot of effort into making sure we got that part right.
Ready for my first laps at Le Mans. Excited to get in the car for number 83, racing for Cancer, BRM Chronographs Aston Martin, here at the 2015 Le Mans Festival. Doesn't get much better than this.
For some reason, I wasn't that nervous going out for my first time at Le Mans. I think maybe it was the approach that I was taking. I knew that I was responsible for a car and another driver. Bob, as a co-driver, was the one that was making this whole thing happen. So my job was to go make sure that the car was set, kind of set a reference lap. It wasn't a situation where I was going to go out and be at 11 tenths. So it was not that nerve-wracking because I knew I wasn't putting the car on the edge. I could go out and be at 8 or 9 tenths, run a very safe lap, set a reference for Bob, and then ultimately get him into the car and get him as close to up to speed as I was, so we could go have a really good event. Typically in a 2-driver race, qualifying goes such that the driver that's going to start the race is in charge of qualifying the car. We had decided that my role, having the most experience, would be to do the start, get the car safely through the start, and get as high up in the field as we could before I handed the car over to Bob in the race. So that meant I got to qualify.
We went into pit lane a few times, and it's crazy how different it is in Europe too. Like, you saw people in high heels and shorts walking around in pit lane, and like, we could get in as kids and we weren't even 18 yet, and we were wearing shorts and t-shirts, and it was totally fine. There's not as much regulation there, I guess.
At one point, we were actually top of the charts in qualifying. We had dwindled down to about P3 right when I decided to bring the car in. And from there, you're just kind of a passenger watching and seeing what the other teams are doing. In the end, a few teams changed tires and put on fresh tires to go get a really fast qualifying lap that I think ended up moving us down to P5 or P6, but really felt pretty good about that qualifying position.
At the chateau, there was a dog, and he was really, really cute and friendly. We even held hands once. And he would eat all the leftover frog legs from our meals. So he was a very spoiled pup.
Chomp chomp!